Well, you're interrupting Sephiroth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 60 of Lonely Gods. I'm your host, David Reinhardt, and I'm joined here, as always, by Kate Riley.
Is this really 60? Jesus Christ. Okay,
Yes,
well.
yes, it is really 60.
Oh god, it is too. Okay. I better get you intros.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Dave.
Well, we're here to
Hello.
talk about the third Doctor story, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. But first, let's talk about some audio dramas.
Oh, okay. Let's do that.
What have I listened to since the last time we recorded?
How would I know?
Because you provide me with audio. Oh, I guess I haven't listened to the Torchwood ones yet, so
Well, that's okay though.
um can't remember if I had any First Doctor either, but
I
I
you
know
should
I listened to
Solitaire.
Solitaire, which was awesome, and it was the Celestial Toy Maker again, and I guessed it. Um, I've been giving my coworker because he lives on my way to work. We've been carpooling, and
Uh,
I listened to it with him, and we were talking. I'm like, wait a minute. I think that's the Celestial Toymaker, and I was like, can you look it up on your phone to see if that's who the villain of the story is? And I told him the name, and he
oh,
looked it up, and
why
I was
wouldn't
like, yes,
why
yes, I
wouldn't
was right,
why wouldn't you just wait and see?
because I knew I wanted to see if I was right then, and then
Yeah.
I found out I was right, and I was so
Well,
happy because
you're
I
terrible.
still really like the Celestial Toy. I remember you thought it was okay. I liked it a lot more than you did.
I think there's some okay things about it, but I don't know. Most of the episodes of that story are pretty shitty. But I think that Solitaire is a much more interesting toy maker story than the
Solitaire is
actual one ever
awesome.
was.
Yeah,
So
it is so good.
that and it's Charlie being smart, and I like when Charlie gets to be clever on her own. So
Yes.
because I mean, for somebody from 1930 to make an electromagnet out of like nothing, I'm like, "That's doing pretty good, doing pretty well."
Yeah,
Uh,
it was a really good story through and through.
uh, yeah, actually, John sat and listened to most of it with me when I re-listened to it months ago. And on Doctor Who, like both on audio and on the episodes, he doesn't sit and watch with me, but I mean he kind of wanders in and out. But like I know that it's something good when it kind of holds his attention and he sits there for the whole thing. He gets sucked into it. Solitaire was one of those. Although we both had a good laugh about the whole like play thing. 'Cause
Oh yeah.
that's kind of silly, but whatever. Solitaire is pretty good. Yeah, I think you heard Embrace the Darkness as well, did you not?
Oh yeah, I did. I did listen to Embrace the Darkness. I
Oh,
guess I didn't even remember that was between, the last
oh
time.
yeah.
But yeah, Embrace the Darkness was really, really good.
I liked it a lot. Well, I think it's because it was like fairly early, right? Because
Oh yeah, no, I had listened to like part of the first episode or just the first episode, and I thought it was very similar to sort of Orion, but then it went like after that it got way better and way different.
yeah,
It was just really fascinating, basically dealing with the evolutionary arc of two different or the same species that split into two different paths.
yeah, it was pretty interesting stuff, and I liked that. It felt atmospheric to me, you know.
Yeah, no, it was
It had a good
definitely
sense of
good.
like tension and shit. So yeah, I actually made a fairly hefty Big Finish purchase myself. Um,
Ooh, what'd you
it
get?
I it was like $35. I kind of probably wish I shouldn't have, but I got the complete first season of the Sarah Jane audios on CD, and unfortunately, that's the only choice because the first story is only available on CD. There's no download option. So it's like $20 by itself. I mean, you can get all the others as downloads for like $7 or $8, but then if you get them all as a set on CD, it's only like 35, which is, I guess, the cheaper option. I don't really want a whole bunch of CDs if I can avoid it, But yeah,
Yeah.
it's more Sarah Jane stories, and the writing credits are going to are Barry Letts and Terrence Dix, who are, kind of the head honchos of the show during this very period. So I was like, oh, that's cool that they got them back to write for Sarah Jane again.
Yes, yes, indeed.
So yeah, I guess that will be happening soon. I also kind of want to get the Dalek Empire miniseries, but I don't have time for that shit. So
Anyway,
anyway,
let's
uh,
let's
what was the last one I listened to? I listened to one called Rise and Fall last night. So one episode, first Doctor story that was really cool. I mean, it wasn't complicated, but it had a really neat like sci-fi concept, and I guess we can talk about it more once you've heard it.
neat.
Neat.
So
Anyway,
let's
yes,
talk about more stuff.
let's
Like
talk
like
about more
Invasion of the
stuff.
Dinosaurs, which I have a feeling I liked way more than you did.
Maybe.
I really liked this story a lot.
I liked the story a medium amount because it's seriously flawed. Like in execution, this is not very flattering of me to say, and I don't quite mean it the way it probably sounds, but it reminds me of the Web Planet. Not because it's as terrible as the Web Planet, my God, no. But it seems to be the kind of thing where they had a cool science fiction idea and they bit off way more than they could realistically put on the screen.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
It's another one of those times where Doctor Who just like swings for the fences and misses, and bless them for doing it. But yeah,
Anyway, so let's get into it. So the Doctor and Sarah Jane are returning to Earth, or well, not to Earth, but to modern London after the events of the Time Warrior.
or if you listen to the BBC Radio one after the events of Paradise of Death, but we didn't because I can't find it. Either way, they're coming back to London. Doesn't matter.
Yes,
Yes.
and find that London has been evacuated and martial law has been declared.
Yes, and we find that Sarah Jane has got a haircut between episodes somewhere,
Yes, yes, that
and
did happen.
the producers were rather upset because it
Really?
threw into the continuity. Yeah, well, I mean, standard Doctor Who practice, as we well know, is to record the season premiere as the last story of the previous year's block, so that way you're like ahead when you start up after the summer. But so during the summer break between filming Time Warrior and Dinosaurs, Elizabeth Sladen was doing some like magazine modeling or something and got a haircut for one of the photo shoots and came back with short hair and everyone was mad. So
Nice.
yes,
Anyway,
any hoozle.
um, so yeah, so it turns out that London has been evacuated because of a dinosaur invasion. Dinosaurs are appearing and disappearing.
And causing problems.
Yes, causing many, many problems.
I have to say that the opening shots of episode one with just deserted London, there's like bodies in the street, rubble everywhere, like cars abandoned, things like that. I mean, that's probably some of the best production value and some of the most evocative stuff in the whole story. I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah, no, they did. I did like those shots. Just everything was empty, and they did a really good job with all that.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did the same thing for Dalek Invasion of Earth, like forever and a fucking day ago, where they just, you know, decided to cheap out. It's like we're not going to clear the streets. We're just going to get up at like 5 in the morning, nobody's out, fill it then.
Yeah,
So it's pretty cool.
it is. And so I mean, the big thing that we really have to talk about, of course, is the fact that we have a bunch of stop motion dinosaurs. Well, they're not really stop motion. They're
They're rubber
puppet.
puppets. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes. And they're not very good.
I like them a lot. They're not very good, but
They're terrible. There's there's a Stegosaurus one that's okay. There's an Apatosaurus one that's okay. But the T-Rex doesn't look very good. It doesn't move right. It looks ridiculous.
it
And
does, and I love it. I loved it so much.
and there's a pterodactyl as well. And the pterodactyl kind of varies. If you don't get too long of a good look at it, it's okay. If you get it up if you get a static close up of it flapping around, it's pretty ridiculous. There's a Triceratops too. Actually, that one was pretty good. Triceratops is probably the best of them, I think.
Yes.
But but yes, you don't like the pterodactyl as much as I do, and I
Just
don't
because
like the T-Rex
like
as much as
I
you
like
do.
the weird goofy puppets, and
Yeah.
I'm less a fan of when we just have an action figure and kind of wave it in front of the camera like it's attacking people.
Oh, well, actually, the thing that won me over with the pterodactyl is there's a bit where it's attacking Sarah Jane and the doctor's gotten into a jeep, and then the pterodactyl, with some convincing looking fangs in its mouth, smashes its head through the window to try and get them, and that looked pretty good, I thought.
Nice.
But I mean, the rest of the time it wasn't terribly awesome. I'm not going to defend it very strongly, but I just thought that was good.
I see.
hmm
So what did you think of the story overall?
Um. Well, I think that it's a good script with good actors, let down by shitty presentation.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's good. It's enjoyable.
But you said that there were some it has some huge flaws. Expand on that, please.
Oh, I mostly meant visually. Like I said, the script is good.
Oh,
It's just that they bit off more than they could chew, and
I like the
the
visuals. I
puppets
really like the
don't work.
visuals. I think they're awesome.
Well, again, some of them work for me more than others, but the T-Rex really doesn't. I mean, it's the slowest thing. I mean, there's a bit where the T-Rex and the Apatosaurus are fighting each other near the end, and it's the slowest, most static, sluggish thing I've ever seen. It's
It's
just
great. They
terrible.
just kind of mush together.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's like taking two toys and just going Meh.
Yeah.
It's stupid. That's what I will say. The thing that impressed me about the T-Rex the most was when it wasn't moving, because there's a bit where they got the stun gun on it, and he falls over, and when he falls over, it looks good, and then they've got him chained up in a unit warehouse, and I don't know how they did it, but they made him breathe and kind of blink and shift slightly, and that was a pretty good effect, I thought. I was impressed with that, but when he's stomping around trying to be menacing, it's stupid. And the thing is they used a T-Rex. They used him as the cliffhanger 3 times out of 6.
Yep.
Where the end of the episode is oh god, here comes the T-Rex, and it's he's the most non-threatening, cuddly T-Rex I've ever seen in my life.
So the plot, I did really like. I guess I didn't have issues with the visuals because I know that they are bad, but they're the kind of this is the kind of this is the best B movie ever because the scripts are, except it's even better than that because the script and the acting's really good. Just they don't have the budget for the effects that they're trying to pull off, but they're trying their damnedest, and it's just so charming to me.
Hmm.
And
well, there's a certain amount of charm to it. I don't dislike the story. It's just there are things that are oh, that's cheesy and enjoyable, and then there's things where it's that's just bad. Some of the things when they did the CSO, the eye lines don't always line up, and there's when the unit soldiers, when you first see the T-Rex and he bursts out of a house, that's actually not too bad.
No, that was awesome.
But the unit soldiers are shooting at him. But if you look at the reverse shot where you can look at the soldiers and on the blue screen they've got the dinosaur they're supposedly shooting at, their eye lines are completely fucked up. It looks like they're just shooting up the house down the street or something. They're not aiming right at all.
Yep.
It's little things like that will tick me off, I think. Um, but like, and I don't like, I give Doctor Who a lot of slack because it's like they didn't have a lot of budget. It is 40 years ago. I mean, there's terrible things on Star Trek and a lot of shows of that era, and they don't bug me for the most part. But this one was like a little bit too far over the line sometimes of just being like not good. Because usually, even if it's cheap, they have found a way to make it work. But this time, yeah, not so much.
Incorrect, madam.
You like cheesy things more than I do, I
I
think.
really do.
I,
So,
I think when presented with cheese, I tend to get a bug up my ass and just kind of roll my eyes.
I understand that. I just really like it here.
Mm.
S-
So,
So the episode is about it starts with this dinosaur invasion, and Sarah Jane and the Doctor are picked up for looting,
mm.
which and they're basically going to military camps.
Another aspect of this that I like, now that you mention it, is that the Doctor and Sarah Jane, for once, they don't show up and then kind of get introduced to the problem. They show up late.
Yeah.
Shit's already gone to hell in a handbasket, and like they haven't showed up. And I think that's kind of cool, where it's like he's not quite in time. Things are already bad.
Yeah. It
So
was interesting.
yeah, especially because like the military higher ups are like, well, if this doctor's so good, like where the hell is he? Why
Yes.
isn't he here?
And then we find out that it's being done by some scientists in London. They're using a device to bring them forward in time.
Which is pretty neat. I think the Master kind of had one of those in the Time Monster, where there was he could bring like the knights on horseback and the old bombers and stuff with his little handheld thing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that. Although these
Um.
guys didn't quite have that much imagination.
No, but they were trying to evacuate London so that they could use their time machine to rewind time for them in their bubble and go back and start on over again on Earth.
And build a better society that doesn't have all the greed and pollution and blah 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 blah, which is a very interesting idea, I
Yeah, no,
think.
it's fascinating. It's
And
I love this whole story right up until like the last minute and a half.
it's I think the story's resolved a little too easily, honestly.
Well, I like how Mike Yates is a bad guy.
Ah, yeah, that's the thing that I
He's
mentioned last
working
week, where I'm
for them.
like, a lot of people don't like what they did to Mike Yates in this story. They're just like, oh, it's out of character, and you're ruining him, and blah 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 blah, which is funny because
I
most
thought
of
it
the
was
time,
really interesting.
I think it is too.
I
And
mean, I thought it was really interesting. It was kind of out of nowhere, but
I don't know about that, honestly. I mean, because like I think
I have notes.
like he's the kind of character that is something of an idealist, and I think that therefore he's the kind of character that could be sort of sucked into this kind of thing if you put it to him in the right way. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
have some notes.
hmm,
I have notes.
good for you. I'm not done.
Fine. Hurry up.
I think this script is kind of like a counterpoint to the Green Death, where like Green Death, we were very much on the side of environmentalism and the pollution is bad and stuff like that. And this story kind of shows when you take that too far. And since Yates was very much in favor of stopping the pollution in Green Death, so I think that this is obviously already something that had interested him.
Yeah.
So
Well, and they
it makes a certain amount of sense.
and it was there was
It's
there
pretty
was some good
daring to do with
moments with him too. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was with one of
pretty
their set
ballsy too for
characters.
regular characters. Very
But
interesting.
I have some yeah, I have some notes about Mike, but my first note I have to tell you it just says fuck you, Kate, the T-Rex is awesome. That's literally what my note says.
Okay.
But there was like a really good scene at the beginning where Mike Yates is talking to Sarah Jane before it's revealed that he's evil, and you can tell he really misses Joe.
I,
Like they're like
I think
talking.
so.
He like tries to joke with her, and she's just like, "Well, we don't really know each other that well, do we?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he kind of like looks away and looks sad.
Oh,
And
uh,
then he was kind of hitting on her later. He was being all suave and stuff.
he was trying to. Well, he tried it with Joe, and he got a few dates out of it, but he lost that battle. So
Yeah.
maybe he's trying to make good this time. I don't know. I did like when he's like tasked with it from it by his evil masters to like sabotage the doctor's stun gun contraption or whatever, and the doctor's working on it, and he just like and Yates just sits next to him. He keeps like bugging him, but like, what are you doing? What are you making? What's this? What does it do?
That's one of my notes. It
And then
says, "Doctor don't get no respect around here," because that was
no,
like
because it's
a
Sarah
long
Jane like
sequence.
barges in, and then the break two, and he's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna fix anything.
It was really funny. Like it was this weird comedic aside that I thought really worked.
It was.
Yes. So and then yeah, it turns out that Mike was evil and his character arc was really interesting, and I like what they did for him at the end. Saying that we just a quiet retirement or 2 weeks vacation in a quiet retirement. He can like resign quietly.
Yeah, which is good. This was supposed to be his last appearance in the series, but we see him again one more time. I think.
Yay! I like that.
I like that too.
Benton really stepped up this week too.
Yeah, I liked it when he just because the general guy is evil too, I suppose we should say, and like he's
Yes. The general who's actually in charge of a general in the London or the English military is in charge of the operation with a unit assisting.
But when he tries to like blame everything on the doctor and has him arrested and stuff, and he leaves Benton alone with them, and Benton's just like, well, I guess you better knock me out so you can get out of here.
Yeah. Well, no.
Benton
Benton sends the guards away, and then
Yep.
and then asks him what's going on, and he's like, Mike Yates has betrayed us, and Benton's like, I don't believe that. He's like, you're sure? And he says yes, and he's like, what about the brigadier? And he says, I don't know. And then Benton's just like, okay, well, I guess you're gonna have to. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm preparing myself. You're gonna have to overpower me.
Yes, and then he gets his licks in at the end because he punches the general in the fucking face.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the better fist fights I've seen on the show because they're,
Oh yeah, no,
they're
it was
just
great.
rolling around and punching each other. It's very undignified, so I like it.
It was great. Well, because the general had a gun on Benton, so he had to like move it away from him, and it was a very undignified fight, but it was excellent.
Yep, for sure.
Very very great sequence. And then at one point, Sarah Jane is investigating a possible like underground base, where it turns out that the minister that's there is in on it too, and he abducts her and puts her aboard a spaceship, which was a really interesting twist.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see that.
And then I actually loved the resolution of that.
Well, that it's a fake ship.
Yeah, that it's a fake ship, and that their entire group was convinced that they were going to another Earth-like planet.
Yes,
When
to
instead
set up, but
they're-
it's actually just past
Which,
Earth.
by rewinding time, it erase human civilization as we know it. It would just be this group of people,
Mhm.
and none of them were okay.
And they're
with
they're all
that.
things like artists and politicians and stuff too. Like they were pretty picky.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good twist, and it ended up not being quite as interesting as I thought it was going to be because, I don't know, I just lost interest in that particular thread. But it was pretty neat. A nice extra layer to put over top of it.
Yes, indeed.
And it's a thing that would really be necessary for that sort of plan to work. I mean, you have to have a population pool to repopulate. It couldn't just be the minister and a couple of evil scientists and Yates. I mean, they can butt fuck all they want, but they're not going to replenish the world.
Nope.
And Yates isn't entirely over to the dark side. I mean, he's
No, because
still
he
kind
doesn't
of
want to
reluctant. He's
hurt
like,
the Doctor.
exactly. Actually, maybe it's just because I've watched it recently, but this kind of reminded me of Children of Earth, where you have to fight the government. I guess
Yeah. Children of
because there's
Earth
this
was
whole
really good, was it not?
it was really really good, but like there's this whole kind of conspiracy angle in both stories, and it's like there's treachery and traitors and government people doing bad things. So
Then you'll enjoy Miracle Day if you like that stuff.
I do.
Just know Miracle Day is a little slow,
That's okay.
but it's really interesting.
Hmm.
Screw the haters.
So can we talk about John Pertwee's Who-mobile?
Oh yeah, his weird like hovercraft.
Yeah, that's a real thing that he had custom built for himself. They brought it into the offices and was like, "Hey, this is the Who-mobile. I just built this over the summer. We're gonna use this, right?" And they're like, "I guess, sure."
I like it. It was weird. I miss
It's
Bessie,
completely
but
ridiculous. The thing is like that's actually like street legal IRL, and he nearly caused a number of accidents by people turning to look at it, which I'm sure was he was delighted.
no,
It's an
yeah,
it's
knowing
the
John
most
Pertwee.
ridiculous thing because it's like this giant like stingray shaped thing. It's so silly.
It's awesome. You just hating on it, Kate.
I don't
You're
hate
just
it. I just think the Doctor driving vehicles as a rule is like weird. I don't really care for Bessie either, in all honesty. But I mean,
Bessie.
I guess if he's going to be on planet Earth in the present day, he has to get around somehow.
Yeah.
There's a feature on the DVD where he drove it onto the set of Blue Peter, which was hosted by Peter Purvis at the time. If you remember, good old Steven. And they showed
Really?
off the car and masturbated over it together. Yeah,
Nice. Kate, nice.
you're welcome.
So, um, but yeah, this was a very I like I said, I really like this storyline through and through.
Hmm.
I liked the weird government twists. Like I liked how it kept revealing who was betraying, and I figured the general was going to be evil just because that he looked creepy.
Oh, because he has an evil mustache.
But yeah, but I wasn't expect I until she went and talked to him, I wasn't expecting the minister to turn on Sarah Jane. But once he
No.
was like, "Oh, I have these confidential files in this back room. Why don't we go look at them together?" I was like, "He's evil. He's gonna do something bad back there." Because no fucking minister, or I mean, no government official would be like, "Oh yes, I think I do know what you're talking about. Let's check out these confidential files back here."
I did like how proactive Sarah Jane continues to be, though. Like she's a good element to the show.
Yeah, no, I like yeah. Well,
I mean, it makes
makes
sense as a
sense.
journalist because she's a
Yeah.
total super into everything. But it's good because like she's not a part of unit. She's not part of that chain of command. So the fact that she's kind of going off and figuring things out on her own is pretty logical and entertaining.
Yes.
And actually, they were kind of mean to her
Oh, they
on
beat the
this
shit out of
story.
her constantly.
No, I mean on a behind the scenes, they
Oh, really?
lied to her. She hadn't worked with like blue screen before, and so she did her like first blue screen scene, and afterwards the cameraman or whatever came up to her and were like, "Yeah, we didn't want to tell you, but you forgot your underwear, your special underwear." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, if you're doing blue screen, you have to wear special underwear because we can see everything. We can see through your clothes." And poor kid fucking believed them and took off,
Aw.
all flustered, and it's like, obviously that's pretty ridiculous, but I suppose if it's a new magical technology, I mean, you know. But yeah, also like the color recovery for episode 1 is fucking. It's the worst thing ever. Like most, this is I think the one like color restored episode that had been done before they figured out the chroma dot process. So this is colorized like in the traditional way, which means frame by frame color approximation, and it's absolute shit. especially on flesh tones, it's all just like patchy and terrible, and it's very, very like fuzzy and ropey, and you can kind of see the black and white that it's painted over, like bleeding through underneath it. It's just a terrible, terrible job. And I mean, I watched it in color just because that was like the original intention was that it be seen in color. It was made for color, filmed in color, broadcast in color. But honestly, the black and white one is razor sharp, and it's not terrible. So if you have the DVD, you should probably watch the black and white one. I think until they like do it again better.
The black and white one actually worked really well for the cheesy ass effects.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed too. Is when I watched it again in black and white, I was like, oh, this actually works better. But still wouldn't like save them all because it's only the first episode that's black and white. But
Yeah.
whatever. I have two other like complaints about this episode. Number one, I don't like that the story is resolved by the Doctor literally reversing the polarity on their machine and sending just the bad people back in time.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was
and then it's just
weird.
like, well, I guess that's the end. And it's like, oh, okay. It's kind of lame. Um, yeah, I was hoping for a better resolution than that. Um, I did like how things ended up with Mike Yates, but pretty much everything else felt kind of like rushed, I guess, which is weird because it's 6 episodes. It shouldn't be rushed.
Yeah.
And that's my other complaint. This is like most six-parters. I feel like it's an episode too long, and it starts to kind of drag towards the end. And but the thing is like that's unusual for Malcolm Hulk. Most of the scripts he's contributed, all that were longer, all did very well because they kept introducing more complications to keep the story interesting. Um, like when he worked with Terrence Dicks on War Games and Silurians and Sea Devils and things like they were all he kept them all moving even though they were longer. But this one uh, didn't really live up to that, unfortunately.
Right.
And this is actually the last Doctor Who he wrote. He went into kind of a shit fit because when they removed Invasion of the dinosaurs from the first episode, so it was just called Invasion to try and like not spoil the surprise. It got ruined because the Radio Times, which was essentially TV Guide in Britain those days, ran a story about all the new stories for the upcoming season, including the fact that there was dinosaurs in this one. And so poor old Mac had a bit of a shit fit and stormed off, and I don't think he ever came back. So yeah, he didn't write any more Doctor Who.
Well,
Which is
then.
too bad because he's
He's a
one of
great
the better
writer.
ones. Yeah.
But yes, I really liked this story. Why didn't
I like
you?
the story to
Boo.
I did. It was like 6.57. It's not bad.
Boo.
Oh.
Boo.
What's next, Dave?
Stink. What's next?
Yeah, so are we done? Or do you have anything else to say? I didn't take a whole lot of notes, honestly.
I guess not. I talked about
commentary
everything I wanted to
was
say. Oh, no,
fucking
my last
boring.
note just says that scene with Sarah Jane and the T-Rex was fucking awesome.
Mm.
When it broke through the wall and then like chased her out and all
Yes.
that.
Yeah, that worked pretty well, actually.
It was fantastic. You're wrong about everything.
I didn't take a whole lot
Even
of notes.
the parts where you agree with me, you're just wrong about everything, Kate.
Okay, good. But yeah, the commentary was unusually boring, and even like the info text subtitles were like nothing that you hadn't really seen before. So, not a lot of notes. Actually, Terrence Dicks made me laugh because the first thing he says is like, "Yeah, so these dinosaurs were not made by the BBC. We went to some outside contractor, and we were like, can you do us some decent looking dinosaurs on a realistic budget?" And they were like, "Yes, we can." And then he's like, "They didn't. They lied. They lied through their teeth, and then they went out of business, and I'm glad." It's like, oh, Terrence.
That's pretty great. Just
So yeah,
so
I guess next week
yeah,
we
what is
have-
next week?
it's a 4-episode story called Death
Oh.
to the Daleks. Why the Daleks have death to them, I don't know. We'll have to
Exciting.
find out. You know what? Every time I see a Dalek story coming up, I get excited, and a lot of the time I don't know why afterwards because they're not always very good.
I have two. We'll have two Dalek stories to talk about.
Will they?
Yeah,
Why?
because I'll listen to
Mm.
whatever. What's it? What is it?
Time of the Daleks, yes.
Time of the Daleks. So,
It'll be a
yeah.
very Dalek-y podcast next week.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. And we will see you then. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.